of the age of the child, and I am no longer between any boxes. They are all unpacked, and I am in my brand new top of the garage office.
Yay!
Yay!
Hey. Hi, I'm Isabel, founder and firebrand of the Uprising Spark, and I'm still in Colombia.
Hi, I'm Lenora. I'm the creator of The Bitchy Bookkeeper, and I am back on the road in a little guest house at an RV resort with Wi-Fi. And we are the three founding non-mothers of Childfree Girls. And in this episode, we're going to be telling you why we don't want kids.
So, in addition to the overriding reason of just not wanting kids, period, even if everything were hunky-dory, there is the risk of having a child with special needs who requires constant care and all energy and all everything, and that becomes your entire life. Obviously, if you have a kid, you want to take care of them and give them what they need, but I don't want to be in that situation.
I have so many reasons that I don't want to have kids, but I think the one that kind of involves everything else, the one that is just like the general blanket over every single one of my reasons, is the fact that I want to feel free in my life, free to do anything that I want at any time that I want. And I think that having children is, I think, a reason to actually grow roots and stay in the same place forever. And that's like super boring.
I'm just trying to think of which one is the most, aside from the fact that I just don't want them. But the one thing I keep thinking about the most is how much I do not want to sacrifice myself for someone else to live a life that I was destined to live. I think about this a lot, when we're discussing this subject and, talking with other parents and even watching my brother. I just have this overwhelming feeling that I would be, if I were to create a being, and I would have to sacrifice the best parts of me, I do believe, and I would have to sacrifice so much, and I would watch that person live the life that I was meant to live, and that's not acceptable to me, because I don't want that. If I wanted to do that, fine, but I just, it's such an overwhelming sense of loss that when I think about having kids, and I don't want to go down that road, and I would resent the child. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's another one. I have the diaries or the unabridged journals or whatever of Sylvia Plath, and in part of it, she says, "I will hate a child that substitutes itself for my own purpose, so I must make my own." And I think that would be a huge struggle, and it would involve all kinds of giving and taking, and probably a lot more giving. And that's just a struggle that I've never wanted to have to experience.
I don't know if people think of it when they think about having kids. Probably not. I mean, the ones that do want them, but it's so evident to me. I don't know if other people see it that way. When they think of children, we don't hear society say that, but
Probably not.
To me, it's so obvious, it's so evident, and I just, it's a big no.
One of my biggest dreams is to visit every single country in the world at least once. And I want to do it right, and I want to do it at my own pace, and I want to do it it's going to take me some months or years even. I don't care. And I think that is the one thing that I really want to achieve in this life. And having a child would completely hinder that. I would have to either carry them with me, which I don't think it's fair for the child, because it would be changing, like there wouldn't be any sense of stability. And I think children need stability. And I wouldn't be able to enjoy myself as much as I do when I travel by myself.
I do not want kids in my living space. As you all know, I love living alone. And I may at some point be open to sharing my 50,000 square foot house that I will build for myself with another person. Maybe. In another 40 years, maybe. It's not a goal of mine to find someone to share anything with. But And also I take my nephews regularly, like once a month or whatever. So I know what it's like to have kids in your house for more than 24 hours, and I happily have them over and visit. But children of any age, and even adults, I mean, just someone in your living space all the time does not work for me. Uh, it's it's suffocating. And the thing about being a mom in particular is there is that expectation that you are on 24 hours a day, available 24/7, never stops, even when the children aren't there. Actually, I'll say I have another reason that kind of goes into that. But yeah, just having someone in my living space, I do not want that. I have never wanted that. That's why it didn't work out with roommates so well. So, uh, yeah, no kids.
I've seen parents with kids who, or it's probably more likely that I've seen it on TV or in movies or something, but you'll see this situation where the child is not necessarily as bad as the famous psychopath Kevin, and we have to talk about Kevin, but you do see scenarios where the child is just a jerk. Either it's constantly throwing tantrums, like on Super Nanny, that Super Nanny show, these kids, and probably because they didn't get any discipline, so it was kind of their parents' fault, or very much their parents' fault. But what if you have a kid, and this kid, through no fault of your own, is just someone you do not like. You just don't like them at all. They're just little jerks, or they hate you, and so of course you're not going to get along. And then I don't know, I wouldn't even know what to do with that. That would be impossible.
Oh my God, yes. I hate the state of the world right now. I hate the fact that they're chopping down and burning down the Amazon forest. And I hate the fact that there are fires in California. And I hate the fact that politicians are doing whatever they want with my country and every single country in this world and just fucking everything up. I hate it. And I think that bringing a child into this mess wouldn't be fair to them. Because when I leave this world, they'll be still here. I mean, theoretically, we'll still be here to deal with all the crap that we're dealing with right now, and even in a worse situation. So there's no way I'm going to do that to anyone.
There's something that we had talked about with Tom James during that episode of Your Children Are Boring, that author. And it was about the forced friendships that happen between parents when your kids have play dates, or you go to the same school. And that is another thing. I am very selective of who I bring into my inner circle. And I've through stories of friends with kids, and just over the years, um, I used to go to my best friend's daughter's birthday parties, and so you meet different people and whatnot, and you just kind of see the vibe of the parents hanging out, and to me, I'm like, yeah, like I don't want the forced friendships, the forced. I mean, I'm sure there were some that or you organically click with, and you could meet people that way, but I don't like the idea of having to interact with whoever your friend, your kids are friends with, their parents. And sometimes the whole mommy crowd is a bit fake, you know I mean, I guess if you don't, I don't know, maybe it's taking my nephews to the playground or to the pool. I kind of see that a bit, but I don't want. I don't like the aspect of having to invite people over into my space because our kids are friends or things like that. That would drive me nuts. Or having to take them to play dates and birthday parties, and just the constant rigmarole of people that you have really no say over. It'd be like working in retail. It sucks. I mean, for me, ugh, that's what it feels like to me. Retail.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to force yourself. It's like you're into forced socialization when you're just trying to socialize your kids. And that was one of mine too. I wouldn't want to deal with other parents and be forced into those weird small talk conversations with other parents who I probably would not. Who knows if you'd be friends with them otherwise, but you're kind of forced into it. Worry was another one, and whether it's the state of the world or what would happen to them the minute they walked out the door the first time on their own, um, the first time they go out on their bicycle, the first time they drive a car by themselves. Could not, I don't want, I worry enough as it is. I never used to be a worrier. I don't know when it happened, probably after my first panic attack in my late 20s. Super annoying. And to have someone else to worry about would probably take a lot of the worry about myself away, but then I'd have to be worried about them. And there's just way too much to worry about. There's too much bad that I could easily envision and that would keep me up. If I get up to go to the bathroom at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd never go back to sleep because that's when all the bad thoughts come. And it's just too much. And if something ever happened to them, like if I watch a lot of Dateline, there are a lot of parents who have lost a lot of daughters to crazy motherfuckers. And if that happened, I do not think I'd be one of those parents who could accept it in whatever way they accept it and move on in a healthy way. I think I would be broken. Just imagining anything like that is not something I would be equipped to deal
2 days ago, I checked if my dog was still breathing as soon as I woke up. So
with.
I understand exactly how you feel because I thought he wasn't breathing and woke up in a panic. So I'm with you in that, Kristen. I get it. The whole anxiety and just feeling uneasy about somebody else. It's not cool.
Mm.
Um, Another reason I don't want to have children is money.
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 What's that? Why is that important?
They take it.
I love being able to spend money on the things that I like and things that whatever I fall in love with, whether it's a pair of shoes or a brand new computer or a car, whatever the fuck it is, I can spend it how I want to because I don't have to budget for anybody else. It's my money and I can spend it however I want.
And you know what? Money doesn't get enough credit because when you have, and I'm not saying like you have to be rich or anything, but you make different choices when you have financial stability. And, especially as a woman, like, I remember once my dad said to me, well, you're a girl, so you would, maybe have a husband to look after you, or your brother has to be the breadwinner. It's the only time he ever really said something to me like that, and I was still living at home, so I was a teenager. And to me, I was like, well, I'd rather just have my own money and have complete freedom because I'm not getting myself into a situation that maybe I can't get out of because I'm relying on somebody financially. I mean, I'm not saying that's always the case. I'm just saying, like, people knock the idea of money when really money is freedom. It allows you to make different choices.
But it's freedom.
Exactly. You can exactly. You can do things with it, and you can take care of yourself if necessary.
Money gives you options.
It does, and I believe. I mean, if women had money, we would make a lot of different choices, I think. I don't know what they would be, but I'm just saying, like, I can see why people have oppressed women for a long time by making them think, get married, be supported by somebody else. I mean, again, that's not always the situation.
And that's why the whole patriarchy is kind of insistent on women getting paid less for stuff. When Demi Moore was the highest paid actress or actor, whatever, in Hollywood, she made, I think it was like $12 million for striptease.
Okay.
At the same time, Bruce Willis got $20 million for one of the Die Hards.
Both terrible movies, in my
highest
opinion.
paid female actor in Hollywood, and she made half of
Wow.
what she paid for like a starring role in a movie. And so the less money you pay women for, I mean, granted, she can do whatever she wants with $12 million, but if you go down the ladder into the regular jobs, the jobs that are dominated by women and how little they make, I mean, and even just making less at the same job as men in the corporate world, that just enables men to argue, well, I'm the breadwinner, so I should be the one to keep my job while you don't keep your job. And so I think that speaks exactly to what you're saying, Lenora, about how we would make different choices if we were the ones making the money. And I think there's a reason we don't make the money, because no one wants us to make those choices, because men wouldn't like what we choose.
Exactly.
Probably not them necessarily.
Apparently on Twitter, I mean, given the way some of the men are on Twitter, yeah, they would not like that at all. They already have enough problems as it is with the way some of us live. Okay, so my next reason, it kind of piggybacks on what you were talking about, Kristen. For me, I want to maintain my health and emotional well-being. That is very important to me. Health is something I definitely take for granted, because then when it goes south, I'm like, oh, okay, no, I like being healthy. And, for me, pregnancy would do nothing for my health. And generally speaking, I'm fine. So I want to maintain that. And definitely the emotional well-being. I've never suffered from chronic anxiety. I don't want to start. This year has definitely brought up a lot of anxiety feelings. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with that on a regular basis. And I know, again, experiences with the nephews, waking up in the middle of the night going, are they breathing? I listen to hear them turn over, because your brain part of your brain never shuts off when you got little kids in the house, because you're like, they're your responsibility. And a lot of things I don't think about normally, if they're in my care when they were younger, I'd be like, oh, I need to constantly check like that. It's just it pulls your energy in different spots. And I know how I am when I want to focus on something that means something to me. Like, I just want to laser focus on it. I don't want to have to, I don't like my energy being split. I don't multitask purposely because I don't find it beneficial. I can do it, but I don't get a pleasure from it. So to me, having children, it would not benefit me emotionally. And I have a lot of I know what frustrates me, and I know what sets off my anger, and I know the kind of home environment that I need to generate nice feelings, like nice Lenora, like creative and generous and that sort of thing. And to bring kids into that would just split me in so many different directions. I would not like how I would feel. Mm-hmm. And I do not want to experience that. And I'm not experiencing that.
One big reason is I don't like getting into anything I can't get out of. I don't necessarily fear commitment as long as the commitment remains my choice to stay in it. I think we've discussed a couple of times why I'm fine with marriage. I understand you're making a long-term commitment. I also understand you can leave if things stop being good. If they get really bad, if you fall out of love, whatever. I don't care why people get divorced. It's just breaking up. It's not a big deal. But if you have a kid, there's just no out. No, regardless of whether you want it. I mean, you're just stuck by choice or not once you've had it. And yeah.
Not only are you stuck with the kid, you're stuck with the kid's dad.
Yes, that too.
And their family.
Yep.
My brother has had this issue with the in-laws, even though he's no longer he's not with the mom. But it's still like, it's not just the one person, Yeah. Plus all the past generational baggage from that family, let alone your own family, all into this bundle of joy that you have to be legally responsible for 18 years. If you don't want to, your other option is to go to jail.
Well, you can always give up custody.
You could. But then there's that whole moral stigma that you get from society and probably from your friends. And
only if you're a woman.
Yeah, man. That's the reason why. I'm jumping the line here. I don't want kids because I'm a woman. I was born in a female body. Fuck. That's why I don't want kids. Oh.
And speaking of being a woman, another reason I don't want kids is because I don't have tocophobia, but the whole birth thing just fucking scares me. I was talking to somebody, she's a mom, and she was telling me that when she was pregnant, she was like 7 months pregnant. She decided to watch for the first time ever a video of a woman giving birth. And when she did, she was like, why the fuck didn't I see this before I got pregnant? Like, is this really gonna happen to me? You know? Oh my God. It was horrible. She tells me it was horrible. And I've seen like some scenes I never actually end up. I think I watched some of those when I was in school when we were like in sex ed or something. And it's disgusting and it's painful and it looks very painful. And then she actually got a C-section, not by choice, but the baby was like not in the right positions, and she was very grateful that she didn't have to go through the whole thing. Um, so it's painful. It completely changes your nether regions.
Yeah.
They're never the same afterwards.
And it can change your breasts too.
I was gonna say it changes. It can change everything.
Everything, but even if you like manage to get back into your like pre-baby bod, there's your hips are not the same ever. Like there's something that goes on down there that is just
And apparently your bladder's not the same either.
yeah. Apparently you pee yourself all the time just by walking or something. And I do it's just the whole thing of just seeing my body change so fast and so dramatically, especially my Pikachu. Not kidding.
Yeah, I'm gonna again piggyback on Isabel because that was another thing. And actually, the thing that grosses me out the most is the idea of breastfeeding. And I think I've said this before. I can watch people do it. I mean, I've had friends do it in front of me. That doesn't bother me seeing it done, but the thought of me personally having to do that, just ugh. And I know that you have the option to not. I mean, there are. Yeah, again, I've always felt weird about bodily fluids and just the whole body thing. It's like, okay, I have one. All right, I'll just make the best of it. But the thought of housing something and I mean, having the
like your first time in human form or something.
Well, I think so. It must be. I'm an old soul, but I don't think I have ever had a human body before because I'm like, what the fuck is all this? Like, it just, I
don't know what to do with this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's taken me a long time to figure it out, and then I, getting the IUD put in, that was like, okay, I can't imagine something coming out of there, like, pain of just getting something inserted. I mean, I don't do any kind of surgery. I haven't done any kind of surgery. It's not necessary, and I just don't. I will avoid it as much as possible. But it's just, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of, there's been pro-choice accounts that have posted some good stuff recently about, talking about a fetus being like a parasite. And Natasha had said this on our Decades episode about pregnancy being parasitic. And I have that feeling too. Like for me, it'd be like, I don't want this. Like, why are you invading my space? And
really?
Yeah, like it's just, but you know what? I mean, it doesn't bother me to see a pregnant person. It doesn't bother me when, I know everyone else has that choice. That does not bother me, but it's just a very personal, intimate thing that bothers me that I would have, why do I don't want to do that. It does not seem right. And I think that needs to be honored. Like first you have to honor yourself. I don't care if your spouse wants one. Like, I mean, when you hear that pushback, like you have to honor your body and you have to honor how you feel about your body, whatever that is. And if you don't want to use it to bring another being into the world, don't. Like to me, it's all sorts of wrong for me personally. I don't care that I have a working uterus. Like it just does not feel right. And I want that to be honored, and I want everyone who feels that way to have to honor that, which is also why we do the show, because we want to honor that people who feel that way too, because it's such a personal, invasive thing. When I think about it, it's just no. So don't ask me. Not going to do it.
I also do not and have never wanted to be pregnant for a couple of reasons. Like, I don't want to have to give up the stuff you have to give up when you're pregnant. I don't want to. I don't want to make that 9 months of sacrifice and not drink wine, um, not vape, not eat. And I hardly ever even eat sushi. But you're not supposed to eat sushi when you're pregnant, and so I wouldn't be able to do that. I think I would be resentful if I had to give up things that my partner did not have to give up. I would just, I'm such a bitch that I'd probably be like, if I have to give it up, so do you. You want this kid? You're going through it with me. And that's not fair. But I know this is a flaw I have. And so that's another good reason to not get pregnant.
Well, why isn't it fair to make that person give up something? Because you would be making an ultimate sacrifice, and especially if you're doing it for that person, then why?
Well,
what's wrong with them?
If you're having a kid for someone else, yeah, they better give it up. But if you want the baby anyway, I mean, I just so happen you're the one who can carry it. So
Okay.
it would be nice if they offered to also give up those things.
Right.
There's also I just don't want I don't want to be looked at as a pregnant person. People are all gushy and weird about pregnant women, and they think that even though you're a stranger, they can say things to you like, when's it due? Or, congratulations. I guess some people also think they can touch it.
Yeah. But they never want to hold the baby when it's vomiting or when you're really sick and pleading for someone on Facebook to come look after your kid so you can sleep because you're really sick yourself. They never want to pitch in then.
Your baby, you do it.
Yeah.
Also, there's because if we weren't such a pronatalist society, I don't think I would feel this way. But when it's kind of the thing women do to get pregnant, I don't find anything appealing about being just another pregnant female and just another woman who's doing the thing women do by getting pregnant and having a kid and becoming a mom. It's I don't know if that makes sense, but I'd feel like an assembly line figure, just kind of.
It's common. It's what is the word? Pedestrian? Like it's
pedestrian.
I think it would feel very unindividual. Mm-hmm. And it's not like I'm putting down motherhood as something. I don't have any interest in doing what everyone is doing unless I don't know. It's because it's an expectation, I think. This is what women do. Okay, I guess I'll go do the thing women do. It just doesn't feel interesting. It feels, I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people become mothers and they're very happy with it and they want to do it and that's their thing, and I completely respect that. But I would feel like I had given up my soul and just become a body in the world.
There's something about kids and food. Like they never want to eat. And when they want to eat, it's like the weirdest stuff. And they are always fighting with their moms. And at the end, they only end up eating chicken nuggets for some reason. I don't want to deal with that. I am already a picky eater. I don't want to deal with a tiny version of me who's also a picky eater. And that I'm the one who has to, prepare the food to this other little person and do how many menus, It's like, here, princess, you have all these 5 options. Please eat something, please, I beg you.
Yeah.
No fucking way. Not doing that.
Okay, so I have to comment about the chicken nugget thing. It's actually popcorn chicken. Because the last time my nephews were over, it wasn't sufficient enough. So one wanted a chicken Caesar salad, so I grilled up chicken and he made his own Caesar salad. Then I went to the store and found frozen popcorn chicken, and that made the other one happy. And then I don't remember what I ate. It was something completely different. So my other thing is the daily life of parenting. I do not want to experience that. I don't care if you have those cute moments where they hug you and say they love you. Being an aunt, I get that. I've gotten that. It goes away when they become teenagers and 10. But, it's the daily aspect of parenting. Because you still have your own things you want to do, generally. I mean, you know, um, but you think of the emotion of a child, all the things that they need, they're dependent on you. I don't like needy, clingy things, which is also why I don't have pets. So are you too. I know you guys love your pets. That's also not something I want. But it's just the day in, day out. For me, I feel that could be soul crushing. I know there are great moments that people have with their children. There were good moments I had with my parents as a child, even though I didn't, enjoy being a kid. But it's just every single day, and I do not want that. That does not, life is mundane even when it's just you. I think back to times in my life where I was working at a job that I didn't necessarily enjoy. It was just kind of like a means to get by, right? So even doing that, like we all have, it's not like being child free is like glamorous and amazing every single day. We still have our own mundane routine or mundane things we have to take care of. That it's not just about that, but the child aspect, I just every single day. Oh no, please no.
Yeah, there's one of my reasons kind of is similar to that. It's bad enough sometimes when my pets have a day when they all have some kind of need. Like I'll want to do something. I wanted to do something yesterday. I had a certain plan. I finally carved out a certain amount of space for myself to do something. And and then I saw that one of my cats had vomited under the bed on a new rug. So I couldn't just let it sit there because then Lenny would try to get under there and eat it. So I had to clean it, but it took a long time to clean it, which took away from the thing I was going to do. And I get very frustrated if my schedule, I get frustrated about my schedule if it's either the same for too long or if I can't do the things I want to do when I want to do them because something else. I'm not good at things requiring my time and my attention either, unless I want them to. Um, and so it can't go beyond, I don't know. It's just, there's a scene in Little Fires Everywhere, and Reese Witherspoon has 3 small children and a baby at this point in the show. And she is freaking out because she can't get the baby to stop crying. And then the little toddlers are crying also. And she never really wanted to be a mom in the first place. She had other goals, she had other ambitions. She wanted to be a New York Times journalist. And instead, she kind of did what you're supposed to do, which is what people think you're supposed to do, is get married, get a house, whatever. She didn't really think about whether she wanted it. She just thought that's what you're supposed to do. And in this scene, she's overwhelmed not only by all these needs and these very loud vocal needs of her kids, but also the fact that she's doing this instead of what she wants to be doing. And I know that that's how I would handle it. I would flip out, I'd throw dishes on the ground, break them, scream, and probably leave the house as soon as my husband got home and go have sex with my ex-boyfriend or something. Like I would be terrible. I would be so unhappy at all of those demands and all of those needs and all of the attention required. My pets don't usually require a lot of attention. They're very well trained. Lenny does her own thing until she needs to walk or play, and that's not a lot. But like, I was married to someone once who just demanded a lot of attention. He needed to be looked at. He needed to be like laughed at, appreciated. Just, yes, I see you, very funny, ha ha, like all the time. And it just, I can't deal with people who demand attention. It drives me crazy. Like I'll give you attention when it's naturally funny, but please, God, please just step out of my line of vision for 2 seconds,
That's a really good example, that show, Little Fires Everywhere. That's it's a great commentary also on race, but on motherhood and the expectations of women. I don't know if you've seen it, Isabel.
I saw it.
Yeah. What do you think of it?
I loved it.
Yeah. It's so much. I should watch that again because it's a great the whole motherhood thing. I mean, and in real life, Reese Witherspoon definitely seems to be the quintessential mom. Like she's really made a career for herself, but she also talks about things like mom brain and like constantly worrying about because she's got a college age daughter how she's always thinking about her kids like every single second of the day while like building her own empire. And to me, that sounds exhausting. It's commendable. I love seeing people that at least go and create things for other people. I don't know how you guys feel about when someone says, I never knew my purpose until, their baby showed up. That drives me nuts, especially when it comes from someone who is a known person, who has made something or done something that has spoken to millions of people. And yet they're just kind of like brushing that under the bed, going, well, none of that really matters except for this kid that I've created. Because to me, and maybe getting off topic here, but to me, I'm like, never, like if you've done something to bring joy to someone else's life that you'll never know about, like don't water that down just because it doesn't meet society's standard of, the biggest thing you can do is be a mom. Like it always bugs me when people say that. Because I'm like, I don't know. I don't necessarily believe that that's a person's purpose, is to have a kid. I think humans are capable of
purpose. I mean, surely there are some people who think, I always wanted to be an actor and this is my calling, but then maybe they discover after a certain amount of time that it's not what they thought it was, and then they have a kid, and maybe that really does fulfill them and make them feel like, oh, this was the thing. And I think for some people it's probably true, but it almost feels like it's become about as trite a phrase as hugs and prayers. Oh, I never knew my purpose.
Yeah, well,
a baby. I never knew how to care about other people or the world until I had a baby.
That's another worrisome thing. I mean, I'll agree with that, to a point. I mean, yeah, everyone, and I don't think that it's just like there's only one purpose for everybody. Like,
yeah,
you have. I don't believe that either, because I used to feel the same way about being a teacher. I thought that was the only thing I was going to do, and like now I have zero desire to do it. And as you evolve, your purpose evolves. But I don't look back on the time that I've spent on other things that brought me a lot of joy back then, even though I don't want to do them now. I don't look at that ever as a waste of time, or to go, oh, that wasn't my purpose, or that was a mistake, because it helped people and it added something to children's lives, like talking about music teaching, for example. But yeah, I guess it just really bugs me when I hear people say that, because it just seems like they're just sweeping away or almost taking for granted the fact that they did something that actually affected in a good way people, like other people, but yet nobody really cares about the kid. Not really. You get a lot of congratulatory tweets and whatnot, but does that add to someone else's life the way other things do? I don't know. I just want people to live up to their potential more than what they really are. That's what I'm trying to say.
I have talked about this with you guys, and also on my podcast, and I've mentioned it. And last week, there was the World Suicide Prevention Day, and I also posted about it. I was diagnosed 10 years ago with depression and anxiety, like chronic depression and anxiety. And most days are okay, but when they're not, I feel complete and utter exhaustion. So having a kid with what I know is something that I will always suffer from, because there's no cure for that, would be completely irresponsible. Because if I can barely take care of myself during some of those days, like I don't even want to get out of my bed. How am I gonna take care of a child? And why would I expect the child to take care, for to take care of it by itself, or to take care of me even? It's just not, it's not fair to that kid. And that actually is something that runs in my family. And even though it's not hereditary, it is genetic. So there's a high chance that if I ever have a child, that child would also suffer from a mental illness of some kind, because this is a chemical imbalance in your brain. So it's actually biological. It's not due to past trauma or anything like that. It's biological. And I don't want to have a child. I don't want to bring a child into this world knowing that there's a chance that I can pass to that child either a mental illness or any other thing that I might have in my genetic, because it's not something that I would live with. I couldn't.
And that's smart. I mean, to me, that's it's just
kind.
smart. It's what?
It's kind.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's compassion.
Yeah.
You know, it blows my mind how people just mindlessly procreate without considering that stuff. I mean, yes, we all suffer in different things,
but knowingly, like that woman who
yeah,
had cancer and who knew that having kids would very likely give them eye cancer, and they all got it, and they're going through chemo in like toddlerhood. It's just insanely selfish.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because you actually brought that to our attention, Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if it was an article or something you showed us, and it's this woman, and her husband also has the same gene, and the doctors were like, your kids have like an 80% chance to get the same thing, and they still went with it, and they have like 5 children, and
Yeah,
I
they
think
just keep having them
because they were still trying to have that child that wouldn't suffer from cancer, because I don't know, it makes no sense. And if they had other children to be able to give like stem cells or to donate an organ to their elder sibling, as it happens with some people who suffer from really bad illnesses, how fucking selfish is that? Like, how horrible is that to think about having a child just to be able to save your eldest because your older child is sick?
Yeah, you're giving birth to body parts. It's so weird.
I know. Oh my God.
Like, sorry,
So,
kid, but we need your liver. So
so true. And
fucking unethical.
I think Jodi Picoult, I didn't read it, but Jodi Picoult wrote a novel about that, about a mother who has a baby to save her older child's life. If you're interested, I don't remember the title, but it's out there somewhere. My last reason mostly is that I would not want to see what would happen to my relationship with my partner if I had a kid, because I'm kind of whatever the being I'm caring for, their needs come first. If they're sick, if they need to eat, that's where my attention goes, even if it's with the pets, because Ian, as a grown individual, he can take care of himself, he can feed himself. But the cats need to be watched for if they get sick. They need to be taken to the vet if they're sick. They need to be fed. They need to be walked. The stuff needs to happen. And a kid would require so much more time and attention and energy and concern. And I think it would be exhausting. I think being a parent has got to be, especially in the first X number of years, has got to be just absolutely, utterly, emotionally, and literally, I mean, not literally, but like energy-wise, draining. And after giving everything I had to a child during the day, I would have nothing left, I'm positive, when he got home. And while it should be, yay, I'm glad to see you, because finally I get to talk to an adult, I instead, knowing myself, I would be like, I'm out. You're here, they're yours, I'm out of here. And I wouldn't, as reasonably as he would need and want my attention to be with him, I just would be resentful of anyone else asking me for anything. I've already given, I'm done. I think I would deplete very, I only have so much. Some people have a whole ton. I don't. I just reach a limit, where especially if I'm tired. I don't think that's a unique trait. I think a lot of people, that's why a lot of marriages get in trouble. And I think why a lot of men end up feeling neglected when there's a baby or when there's a child requiring a lot of attention, is because that child needs so much. And by the end of the day, you just have nothing else.
I've always found that fascinating. And even though I'm someone that, has chosen to be single at this point in my life, and potentially, forever, because it suits me. Also because too, I don't get energy from people, and I wouldn't expect to get energy from a spouse. I don't know how that works. Like,
no, we want to hang out with you. You're a romantic. You're in a romantic relationship. You come
Yeah.
home,
I mean, I guess I do have someone I can call and say, let's hang out, and we can hang out for a few weeks. We don't have to even talk, just, have dinner, watch a movie. I'll do my thing. You'll do your thing. Like, so that I get, but it's just, I can also go to my own house, but I've always been curious about that though, about relationships and what happens when a child comes in or two children come in, even if they're both wanted, even though both, like, say both people want the children, and are maybe initially happy with it, but what happens to an even a strong relationship, the challenges of that, because I even think of, like, excuse me, my parents had a very strong marriage, and they put their marriage first before they put us first. Like, their relationship came first before the needs of the child, like before the children.
Oh, that's good.
It is good. It sucks as a kid, but as an adult, I totally see it. But I think about the dynamic. Like, I didn't have much of a connection with my mother, but my mother was really connected to my brother, and any issues that my parents had with me, of course. Like, I don't know how that affected them as a couple dealing with me, because I was a very challenging child, teenager, and then the therapist totally sided with me because I was right. So I don't know what that effect had on my parents' marriage. They stayed together until my mom died, and they survived it. But I'm curious. Like, I mean, that's not something I could ever ask my dad. But because he doesn't remember half this shit either. Like, I'll mention something, dads forget everything, and this is years and years ago. He wouldn't have a clue. And even if he did, he probably wouldn't tell me. Like, Mom, if she were alive, she would have probably been more honest about it. But I don't know. I can imagine, though, the strain that would have had on them dealing with me, because I was not anything like what they expected. I wasn't going to follow the religious lifestyle. I was very much my own person from day one. And apparently they weren't expecting that. I saw my parents there, but I know, like, there's many more cases where one of them just ups and leaves, within the first couple months of a new baby or whatever, because apparently not everyone goes into a relationship with the best intentions, or some people get trapped. I mean, there's so many variables, but I've always found it curious, like, what really goes on in a marriage or a long-term relationship once a child enters.
But there's also the kids get older and you don't agree on discipline. I think it would have to be a really special dynamic for it to thrive with the same kind of happiness that it started with before the kid was born.
I'm not curious enough to go through any of that to find out.
Nope.
But if anyone wants to talk to us about it, I would love to have this conversation. And not as I told you so, but just curiosity. I like knowing things. I like learning things. I'm curious. I just don't have to experience it personally,
Yeah.
Well, that is all for this episode. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy our YouTube channel, please subscribe below. You can rate our podcast wherever you're listening to it. And check us out on Amazon. We have a book, Childfree Girls, Comfort Food for Thought, available in Kindle and on paperback. You can also find us all over social media. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on Pinterest. And probably no longer on TikTok. Oh, and our website is childfreegirls.com.
If you want to send us an email to ask anything, tell anything, send us a story, send us your thoughts, it's childfreegirls@gmail.com. It's open 24/7, and we're very keen to get your messages.
We are keen. Messages would actually be really swell.
I speak old English.
I love it. I love keen. I've always liked that word. I also like swell and dig, like you dig it. Our question for you today is a very simple one, but maybe not so simple. And that's, why don't you want kids? It can be one reason, it can be 20 reasons. Leave them below in the comments wherever you are receiving this message from us.
Or send
Groovy,
an
man.
email.
Man.
What?
It's like groovy, man.
I also like groovy. I love that.
Yeah. Or send us an email.
Yes, or send us an email at childfreegirls@gmail.com. Spelled just the way it sounds.
Oh dear.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. No, you say bye.
No, you say bye.
Oh my god, I'm leaving.
Uh,
You leave first.
I'm going.
Bye.
Bye.